These are the tools I can't knit without. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned knitter, these must-haves will elevate your knitting game in 2025. So let's dive in. Hi, I'm Arletta, and today I'm sharing my favorite knitting supplies for 2025. Having the right tools doesn't just make knitting easier, it makes it more enjoyable. Now, keep in mind, everybody's preferences are different. We all like different materials. We like different, whether it's ergonomic handles for our crochet hooks. Yes, we use crochet hooks in knitting on occasion, or whether we like certain types of stitch markers or needle stoppers, things like that. But this is what I like. So from needles to yarn and even clever storage hacks, these are my go-to picks. Let's start with backbone of any knitting project, needles. So my favorite up to this point, I've only been knitting for less than a year, but this is what I like so far, is Knitter's Pride. I lost my brain completely died there for a moment. Knitter's Pride. I have one of their interchangeable kits here. There it is, right here. Oh, can't see it. There we go. Da, da, da. So this is the Mindful collection. It's got 14 different sets, or 14 different sizes from 2.5 to 17, and it's got several cables for those of you that don't know how they work. So you've got a cable. I'll show you on a short one here. And you've got a needle. All you do, you screw this on. There's a little lock here. You screw that right on. And there's a little lock. See this little hole right there. Let's see if we can get it. There it goes. Right there. You put this little pin in it, which I'm not seeing at this moment. Put it in there, tightens it up nice and tight. So you can put both on here. And the cool thing about this is that, like often with ribbing on a project, you'll do it, maybe your ribbing needs to be a needle, a size 4. So you do your ribbing, and then you can slide the project down. I'll show you kind of on this one that I'm working on. You can slide the project down onto the cable like that. And then all you have to do when you need to switch to a new, bigger needle, once you're done with your ribbing, you take the needle off, put the new size on, and boom, you're right back on there. You don't have to buy, 25 different sets of needles. And you can, I've had it happen where I need the needle for a different project. So I flip it down onto the cable, and then I just take off that needle, take off those needles, put on an end cap, which this one comes with these little end caps. Oh, there's that little lock. See this little lock here? It goes right in that hole, right there. And then you can tighten up that needle really tight, and it won't come undone. So you slip your project down onto the cable, you take off the needle, and then you put these little end caps on, and you can just leave your project on the needle like that, on the cable like that, and you can use those needles for other projects. Very handy. That's my favorite needles. However, I also have, if I don't zip it up, it all falls out. However, I also have, I got this little case here that I have other needles in. It's very simple, just a little pocket. And I've got, there's a wooden circular, this is a 9. This one is from Clover. It is an 11. Clover are good needles if you are on a budget. And then I've also got some other Knitter's Pride fixed ones here. There's also some DPNs, which are double pointed needles, and my little bag here seems to be trying to eat me up here, eat my hands there. So here's a double pointed needle, and they come in all different sizes again, and those are used for knitting in round and other, can also be a way to, you can use them for cabling, you can use them for other kind of short-term holds and stitches kind of thing if you need to, because you can take those double pointed needles, stick a couple of needle stoppers on it, and it can hold a small project that you may be working on. The Knitter's Pride the Mindful collection also comes with one of these, which is a needle gauge guide, so you can, if you find a needle that you don't know what size it is, you can stick it in the hole till you figure it out. Kind of cool. Another thing everybody needs, a measuring tape. Now I have several different kinds here. I have one that I don't see right offhand that clips onto my Notions bag, onto the zipper. This one stays in this. I also have a soft, flexible one, like you would use for fabric kind of thing. So yeah, there's different kinds for that depending on what I need it for. So I mentioned needle stoppers. These are other things. I have a couple different kinds. These ones are by Cocoa Knits, and it comes in kind of a multi-pack that has different sizes. See the different sizes of the holes. So all the way down, see here's a blue one, big one. I also have these. I bought these off of Amazon. I thought they were really cute. And they work great for larger size needles. They do not work great for the smaller. So I'd say anything below probably a 9 is gonna be hit or miss on how well it's gonna stay on there. But they're rock, paper, scissors ones. They're really very cute. See, rock, paper, scissors. Those are really cute. While I'm in my little box here, there are stitch markers. Stitch markers are extremely useful and necessary. There's a couple different kinds. There is this one here. These look like little safety pins, and they're great. They come off like that, and you can remove them at any time. The other ones I like these, but they can be, especially if you're working on a more delicate project, they can be kind of heavy, kind of bulky. But there's these ones that are really great. They're little light bulb shaped ones. Again, they look like a safety pin, just kind of rounded at the end, and they open up. You can pop them anywhere on your project that you need to. I bought these off of Amazon. I will look up and I will put a link to the exact one I ordered. If you hear that, I apologize. There's people upstairs. I think it was like $7 or $8 for this whole thing of these. So then there's some cute little ones. These ones are more, for lack of a better term, they're permanent. These are good for maybe end of round and that's it. If you're needing to mark something in the middle of a project, you're gonna want to use a removable one like this, or like the light bulb ones. But an end of the round one like these are also from Cocoa Knits. These are from Knitful Pride, or Knitter's Pride rather, I'm sorry. And this is one that a fellow knitter made for some of us in our sweater class. And I've got a couple other different ones kind of like that too. Oh, I've got these little flower ones. These are cute. I bought these at a local yarn store in Coopville, Washington. So anyway, these are not removable. If you knit into them accidentally, like if you don't switch it over to the other needle, it will, so it's between stitches, you can actually knit them into a stitch, and the only way to get them is to either cut the yarn or to somehow break the stitch marker. So you gotta be careful about what you do with those, but those are very helpful as well. Let me just put my lid on here, because if that tips over, it will be a heck of a mess. Other things I use, and of course I haven't talked about yarn. Yarn is completely up to you on that one. If you're interested, I will do a video about, or videos about some of the different yarn types, sizes, all that fun stuff. Another thing that we need are needles, tapestry needles, darning needles, things like that. That's these pretty big needles for weaving in ends. I know, that's a horrible phrase, weaving in ends, but it's something that we pretty much all have to do at some point or another. There's that one, I have metal ones, I have a plastic one that came with my interchangeable needle kit, and I like that one too. It's got a wider eye. Let me see if I can grab it here.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
There it is. See, it's got a pretty wide eye on it, and it's curved there at the end, kind of pointy, a little curved. And that one works really well for feeding yarn through. The trick is making sure you get one that's got a big enough eye that you can do that with. While we're talking about needles, we've got cabling needles. Now, if you've seen my previous videos, I have not started cable yet, but I've got some cable needles so that I can learn. Scissors, must have scissors at all times. These came with, I got this little kit when I first started. It's from Clover, and they had several different little tools in here, some of which I don't use at all. However, some things that they did have that I use until I got my Knitter's Pride kit. I used this for gauges if I wasn't sure what size needles I had or whatnot. It came with a couple of these, which you can use to, again, you can put, if you need to split off for something or save stitches for something, you can slip these stitches onto here, and that'll just hold them in place so that you're safe. Along with that, I have pearl strings. Now, you can get these, sorry, camera got full. I can change cameras here. So, pearl strings, well, basically what this is it's a very fine tubing. I think they also call it barber cord. I think I'll have to double check on that. Let's see, where's the camera? There's the camera. There you are. There. You can just kind of see. It's very thin, or very fine. And of course you can get different sizes. I got this at a local yarn store, but you can also get it like at a hardware store or one of those chain construction stores that shall remain nameless. I think it's called barber cord. But anyway, you can get that, and what you do is you take it, you put the tubing on your needles, and then you can transfer it onto that. If you want to put it on hold for a while. So for example, I put this on hold while I was working on Christmas presents. I knew it was going to be a while. So I put it on the tubing so that I could then, and it keeps those stitches from being lost. And then all I have to do when I'm ready is put the tubing, either end of the tubing back on the needles and slide it back onto the cable. So it works out really well. I like it. Something that is definitely not a necessity for most people, but I do use on occasion, not all the time, is a tension ring. I have neuropathy. I have issues with, I don't feel anything below about mid-shin on both legs, and I get really bad cramping and shocks and stuff like that through my whole body, but especially with my hands when I've been knitting for a while. So sometimes it's hard for me to, for the most part, I'm a flicker, which means I do continental. So when I hold my yarn, when I'm knitting, I wrap it around my fingers like this. I wrap it around like this, and I hold it out like that. And all I do is I stick it in, and I just do twists like that. It's just really easy for me to just do it that way. Now, the problem is that sometimes with my neuropathy, I have a hard time. It can be very painful if I keep doing this for a while, and with that finger sticking out like that, my nerves start screaming at me and calling me all sorts of nasty names. So what I do on those occasions is I put in this tension ring, and I'll show you that there. So it's in. And that will, as you're going, it helps keep that tension on that ring so that it's hard to show when I'm not actually knitting. Anyway, so if I'm knitting like this, that's nice and tight, and I can just wrap my needle around it like that. Like I said, I don't use it all the time, but I do use it frequently enough that I keep it on hand because it does help with the cramping and spasming and pain. I don't use row counter per se. I'll put a link below to the app that I use, but I use an app called Knit Companion, which a lot of people use actually. It's an app that you can import your PDFs of your programs, and you can keep track of where you are, and you've got various counters in there. You can make notes, all sorts of different things. I use that. I can do a video if anyone is interested on Knit Companion. I really like it. I'm not supported by anyone. If you want to, do it. And yeah, and then of course there's storage, different bags. I use all sorts of different project bags, whether it's a tote bag, or I do have, and I don't have it with me, I have a Magna bag, which I can talk about later if you want. I have this bag, which is a nice kind of round craft bag. It's got pockets inside and out, and little holes, so if you want to put your yarn, feed your yarn through, that works handy. It doesn't work so great if you're actually traveling, because then, you know, you got yarn anyway. Yarn inside and out. But anyway, those are the things that I have to have. Really all you need is, that I would suggest if you want to start knitting, basics would be, I forgot to mention, crochet hooks. I have several different crochet hooks. I have a whole set in here of different sizes. That's right here. But, and more needles. Because again, one can never have too many needles. But the main crochet hook I always keep handy. I keep it in my little Notion bag. See, Notion bag? If you have a local yarn shop, use it. Here's that tape measure I mentioned earlier. But this came with my Clover kit that I mentioned earlier. This one. But use this, you can use it for finishing, but what I mainly use this one for, and it's a perfect size for me, for if I drop a stitch, I can use this to hook and feed that right up through that ladder that it creates. So it's very handy. So really all you need to start: needles, yarn. I would recommend, if you're starting, at least a worsted weight yarn, if not like a bulky. I wouldn't necessarily go for super bulky or chunky, because that can be kind of, but at least worsted or bulky weight. And I wouldn't go for anything expensive when you're starting. You're just practicing, you're learning. So yarn, needles, crochet hook for fixing mistakes, and stitch markers. And these are not absolutely necessary, but wood, if you can swing it, some stitch, some needle stoppers to protect whatever work you've done. You don't want to lose it because it's falling off the needles when you're not paying attention. I also have, I've mentioned before, we have dogs, and occasionally one of them is especially fascinated by yarn. She's not necessarily fascinated by the ball of yarn or a skein of yarn. She is fascinated by only projects that are actually on needles, and she'll actually take off with it and leave the ball rolling behind her. But those are really the only things you need to start. You can get free patterns online. You can go to Ravelry if you know what Ravelry is. I can do a video on that. I really like Ravelry. It's a deep dive of, it's like a rabbit hole. You just go down there forever. But you can find patterns online all the time. Affordable yarn that I used to start was Lion Brand. Their quality, they have several different kinds. They have different materials. They have sustainable products. They have animal products. They have acrylic. So all sorts of different kinds. They have, and it's affordable. There's also, if you're looking for affordable, just to practice with, there's, Red Heart, Burn It. There's several different, you can find them at like Joann's, Michael's, places like that. So, yeah. So anyway, I've wandered a bit. So go ahead, if you've enjoyed this video, if I've given you some ideas, like, subscribe, hit the little bell, and leave me a comment. What is, if you haven't started yet, what is going to be your first project? I don't know. If you have started, if you've been knitting before, what was your first project? Was it practical? Was it useful? Or was it just for fun? So let me know. Have a great day.